today we're going to work on the Unit 11 review over circles. I'm actually doing this during my 3A class period, so if you hear extra sound in the background, that's why. So here we go. The first section is over vocabulary, and I feel like you could find those vocabulary words on your own. So I'm going to skip this section, and I'll show you the answer key to this section at the very end of the video. Alright, we're going to move down to section 2, and it says, for problems 11 through 19, refer to circle O and complete the following statements. So a couple of things that we need to know for this test are that to find circumference, it's pi times diameter, and also it's 2 pi r. And also, we're going to work with the amount of degrees in a circle is either 180, or the amount of degrees in the whole circle is 360 degrees. So if we can remember those things, then we should be golden for the rest of the test. Okay, so for this section, we've got a couple of things here. We have a diameter, we have a chord right here, another chord right here. RO is a radius, OS is also a radius. So we've got a lot of things going on here, and let's go ahead and look at what the question is asking. So it says if PQ equals 16, PQ is what? What's PQ? It's a, but what kind of part of the circle is it? It's a what? Radius, diameter, chord? Diameter, right? So if PQ, if the diameter is 16, then OP, from O to P, that is a radius. So to find the radius, I'm going to divide by 2. So PQ is a diameter, OP is a radius. So to get from a diameter to a radius, I just do 16 divided by 2, and that's 8. Okay? Alright, number 12. The formula for the exact circumference of circle O is, well, we just talked about those formulas right here. Circumference equals pi times diameter, and circumference equals 2 pi r. So you can pick whichever one you want. You can write both of them. But there you go. Okay? Alright, let's name 3 chords in the figure. So can somebody give me one chord? If you're participating in class right now, can somebody yell out a chord? PQ is a chord, yes. It's a special kind of chord. It's a diameter, but it is a chord. What else? PR. Anything else? PS. So remember, a chord is anything that goes from one side of the circle to the other side. Okay. Number 14 says, if the measure of angle ROQ, so let's find that, ROQ, and that's 42 degrees, and the measure of angle QOS is the same as ROQ, so these two are the same, then how much is the arc RS? So they're asking for that outside curvy part of the circle. So that's 42. That's also 42. Together, 42 plus 42 is 84. And remember, the central angle is the same as the outside arc. So that means that the outside arc is 84 degrees. Okay? Alright. Number 15. If QPS, so that's this inscribed angle. So if QS, so if this little bitty arc is 40 degrees, then QPS is going to be half of that. So it would be 20 degrees. Okay, number 16. It says, what is the measure of POS? So POS, let me use a different color now. Actually, let me just draw it. So here we go. We've got P, O is the center, S, and it says if QOS, angle QOS, which is this one right here, so QOS is 35. Okay, so together these make a straight line, and we said straight lines make 180 degrees. So you're just going to do 180 minus 35. So 180 minus 35, how much is that? 145. Okay. It says, name two congruent chords if these two arcs are congruent. So that's the rule where if the arcs are congruent, then the chords that make them are congruent. So RP, I'll just make it yellow. RP, the chord it's made by is PR. And SP, the chord it's made by right here, is SP. So the two congruent chords are PR is congruent to SP. Okay? Highlight that yellow so you know what it goes with. Okay, next up it says, what is the measure of RPS if ROS is 75? So let me draw that circle. ROS. So that's 75 degrees. And RPS is this outside right here. So remember, the central angle matches the arc on the outside, the inscribed arc. So, intercepted arc. So remember, we have a full circle. A full circle is worth 360. So this is going to be 360 minus that 75. So you get 285 degrees. Okay? That's how much this is worth. Okay? What is the length of the arc? So some of the things that we talked about in class with some of my groups that I did, the measure, if you have a little m, then that's the same as the central angle. But if it asks you for the length of the arc, that's where you have to do the fraction over 360 times 2 pi times the radius. And you put your angle on top over 360 times 2 pi r. So it says, what is the length of arc RP? So RP is this part right here. If P, let me just draw this circle because it's a little wild. So they want to know from R to P. So they want to know this. If POR, so this is POR, POR is 120 degrees, and RO is 6 feet. So that means RO is my radius, so that's going to go instead of R. And then 120 is my angle, so that's going to go in right there. Then you just type this on your calculator. 120 over 360 times 2 times 3.14 times 6. Instead of writing pi, use 3.14, and that gets you 12.56 feet. Okay? So that's page 1. Moving on. The rest of this is not nearly as involved. I think things are just spread out more so you have more room to write. So on this one it says for problems 20 through 22, use circle F and find the measure of each given arc, given that BC, so this part of the arc, is worth 46 degrees. Okay? The arc BC is worth 46 degrees. So what we know is that the central angle is congruent to the arc. So we know 2x equals 46. How do we solve that? What do we do? Divide it by 2. So x equals 23. Now, how does that help me? Well, they want me to find arc AB. Well, here is arc AB. and its central angle is 3x plus 30. Well, I know what x is now, so I'm going to say 3 times 23 plus 30. And you just type that on your calculator. And you get what? 99? Okay? Alright, then it says DE. Well, here is DE. Its arc matches its central angle. That's 4 times 23 minus 3. Instead of writing x, I put my 23. And that gets you 89. And CD, that's this one right here, matches this arc right here. So that's 2 times 23 minus 12. 2 times 23 minus 12 is 34. So that was meant to be a super fast set of problems. Okay? So we just found that the arc was congruent to the angle, solve for x, and then we plug it in for the values of x to figure out what their arcs are. Okay? Alright, on this problem set down here, it's talking about this circle. One of the homework assignments that we did said that this arc matched two of the angles. Matches angle ABC and it matches angle BDC. So what that meant was this angle is congruent to that angle. Okay? Now remember, these are inscribed angles. And that means they don't go through the center of the circle, they touch the outside of the circle. So that means they're half of the arc. Okay? If they went through the center, they're all the same as the arc. But if they go through the outside, they're half. So half of 86 is 43. So that means both of these angles are 43 degrees because they are intercepted on this arc right here. So they want to know the measure of angle BAC, so we're going to put 43 degrees. And they want to know the measure of angle BDC, so we're going to put 43 degrees. Then the same thing exists going the other way. Like this. This was 40 degrees. So remember they share this arc. So this angle and this angle. So these are both 40 degrees, which means that their intercepted arc is twice that. So it's 80 degrees. Okay? So it asked for arc AD. We say that's 80 degrees. And it asked for angle ACD, which is this one. And that's 40 degrees. So this is one of those ones where you just have to know that these angles are going to be the same because their intercepted arc is the same. Okay? Alright, in this group, we're talking about a triangle drawn inside, and you can tell that this is a diameter because it goes through the center of the circle. So since that's a diameter, then this whole arc, arc AC, is worth half of a circle, which is worth how much? How much is half of a circle? 180 degrees. So this is 180. And then if you notice, that means that this angle here is intercepted by this arc, or intercepting this arc. So that means this is half of 180, which means it has to be 90 degrees. Okay? So then, we know this is a triangle, and triangles add up to how much in the inside? How much do triangles add to? Inside of a triangle adds to what? So triangles add up to 180 degrees. So this orange triangle is 90 plus 41 plus x equals 180. So we're going to subtract 90 and 41. And that's 49 degrees. So this third angle is worth 49 degrees. This is an intercepted angle, or sorry, an inscribed angle. So its arc is twice that 49. So 49 times 2 is 98. So this is worth 98 degrees. The last part that we need to do is find AE, which is this section here. How much do circles add up to? 360. So we're going to do 360 minus 180 and also minus your 98. That's 82 degrees is what's left over. Okay? So if I add these three, I should equal to 180 degrees. Okay? Alright. Next section. Says find the radius if length AB is worth 40. A lot of people get really scared about this. AB is worth 40. So this is a radius intersecting a chord, and that means it cuts this in half. So if the whole thing is worth 40, then this little part is only worth 20, and that little part is also worth 20. And remember, to get the radius, we just connect that C to A. So we know this is 8 high, 20 long, and we can do the Pythagorean theorem. 20 squared plus 8 squared equals radius squared. And then you just do it on your calculator. 20 squared plus 8 squared is 464. That's the radius squared. And then to undo it, you take the square root. Square root of 464 is 21.5. 21.54. Okay? Alright, number 31. This was on your homework a bunch of times, but basically we have congruent chords, so that means the arcs are congruent. So that means this one and this one are the same. They're both B. So you do 360 minus 80, which is 280. And since they're both B, then you're going to divide by 2 to get B. So B is 140. This was on your homework several times, but it was just meant to be a review of that for this problem. Okay, here's where you're going to like me. We are not going to do 33 and 34, so you can write omit on them. They're not part of this unit. I forgot to take them off. Okay? Alright, on 32, when we're talking about intersecting chord length, remember we just do 18 times x equal to 12 times 15. So 12 times 15 is 180. So to get x, we just divide by 18. So x equals 10. Okay? Meant to be easy. Alright, on 35, same rule as before. The chords are congruent, so the arcs are congruent. So we just say 4x minus 7 is equal to 3x plus 5. And then go ahead and subtract x from both sides. X minus 7 equals 5. And then to finish solving, add 7 to both sides. So x equals 12. Okay. Alright. Number 36 looks confusing, but it's not that bad. Encircle TR is congruent to TV. I could read. That would be better. So if the chords are congruent, then the arcs are congruent. And if the arcs are congruent, then the chords are congruent. So I know that TR is congruent to TV. Then it says that SZ is x plus 9. And UZ is 5x plus 1. Okay? So what we've seen in these examples that we've done in our homework is that this little part here is going to be congruent to that little part there. Okay? So you just say x plus 9 equals 5x plus 1, and you solve it. Minus x from both sides. 9 equals 4x plus 1. Some of you can see that that has to be 2. Minus 1. Divide by 4. X equals 2. Okay? Alright, we're almost done. It's only been 21 minutes on the video, so I'd say this isn't too hard of a test if you know what you're doing. So maybe study. I don't know. Alright, number 37, 38, and 39. There's a typo on 39. It should just say 50 inches. Okay? So 37 says if the circumference of a chocolate chip cake is 50 pi inches. So my formulas for circumference, there's two of them. The first one is pi times diameter. The second one is 2 pi r. When do you use which? Well, if it's talking about the diameter, then you're going to use this formula. If it's talking about the radius, then you're going to use this formula. So in this problem, it's asking for the diameter. So that means I'm going to use C equals pi d. Now I'm going to fill in what they gave me. They said the circumference was 50 pi. So 50 pi equals pi times d. Well, 50 times pi equals pi times some number. D obviously has to be what? I know.
Yeah.
Alright, so D has to be 50 because there's no way they could be the same if D weren't. Alright, if the circumference is 50 inches, what is the radius? So circumference equals, this time we're talking about the radius, so we're going to use 2 pi r. Plug in 50. Now to get r all by itself, I need to divide everything by 2. So 25 equals pi times r. And then, to get r all alone, I need to divide by pi. Well, pi is 3.14. So I'm going to get that r is about 7.96. Okay. Next up, number 39 says, if the radius of the circular cheese dip is 50 inches. So we're talking about radius is 50. They want us to find the circumference. So I'm going to use 2 pi r. Plug in what I know. And this one should be pretty simple. You just type it on your calculator. 2 times 3.14 times 50. And that's 314. So on these three problems, you needed to figure out what are they asking and which one of these two formulas am I going to use. They're meant to be easy problems. They're not meant to trip you up. So study those formulas and what you're doing there. Okay. Problems 40 through 43. AB is tangent to circle T, and the measure of arc HD is 50. So first off, I know HD is worth 50, so I'm going to find it, and I'm going to label it. Okay, so if you look at it, we've got a measure here of 48. We've got a measure here of 38. Here is 57. Up here is 120. So we've got a lot of things going on here, and we've got to answer 4 questions about this. So let's look at the first one. It says the measure of angle SBC. So SBC is right here. I'm going to highlight it orange. since there's several things going on in this problem, I want to make sure we can refer back to them. Alright, so I know if I have tangent and a chord, then I know that this angle right here is going to be half of this outside arc. So this is 120 divided by 2. Okay? So whatever the outside arc is, you're going to divide it by 2 to get your answer. Okay, next up, I want to know the measure of angle BA all the way over to C. So this is a tangent and a secant, and we're going to subtract this minus this divided by 2. So if they intersect outside of it, we subtract and divide by 2. Okay? So 120 minus 48 divided by 2. Whoops, I just divided. 120 minus 48 and then divided by 2 is 36. Now they want to know BCA. Whoops, I forgot to color that one green. So you knew where to look. Okay. BCA is an inscribed angle. So it's going to be half of the arc that it intercepts. So it's going to be half of that 48. So that's 24. Lastly, it's asking for angle DFR. So angle DFR is right here. And so remember, we're going to do that by doing those intersecting chords. So we're going to take this one and this one. We add them together. So 57 plus 38 divided by 2 is 47.5. So if they intersect inside the circle, we add. Outside the circle, we subtract. Okay? Outside versus inside. Inside is add, outside is subtract. Okay? Alright, last little problem set. It says EA and EB are tangent to circle O. Well, I know if two lines are tangent and they intersect, then I know that they are congruent. So I know that S has to be 11. Okay? It also says that BD is a diameter. So now we're going to find some other things. We need to find P and also Q. Okay, so to find, let's see, to find P and Q. Well, P is right here. And it is, this is a diameter, they said. And it's being intersected by a tangent. And tangents always intersect at 90 degrees. So P is 90 degrees. Because tangents intersect radius at 90 degrees. Okay? So we've got P. Now we have to find Q. Okay, so we just said that tangents intersect a radius at 90 degrees, and from O to A is a radius. Right? So since this is a radius, then right here has to be at 90 degrees. Tangents intersect a radius at 90 degrees. Okay? Now, this AEO is a circle. So in my circle I have 90, 35, and Q. And that equals 180. So I can just go 180 minus 90 minus 35, and that gives me 55. So Q is 55 degrees. Okay, I'm about to show you the vocabulary for the front section. I highly recommend that you don't just copy down these words, but you actually have tried before you look at the answers. Okay, so I'm about to show you the vocabulary section with the answers filled in. If you have not done this, please pause, do it, use your notebook. Most of these vocabulary words you can find in your notebook easily. There was only one of them that was a little confusing, and I'll give you a hint. That one was the definition of circle. Circle is a set of points equidistant from a given point called the center. Okay? So, if you haven't done the vocabulary yet, once again, pause the video, do the vocabulary, turn it back on, and see how you did. There are the answers to the vocabulary words. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.